Okay. What's this one? Ready?
You rolling? Okay,
Yes.
let's do first day in country in Iraq.
First day in country in Iraq. This is a good one. So, man. So we are driving in, and I'm like in this 5-ton big. It's like a big truck that's got basically only two people sit in it: a driver and a passenger, and that's it really. And then you've got a big space in the rear for equipment. Ammunition is what we were carrying. We have a ton of ammunition in this truck, right? Because we are going to get to we were trying to get to Camp Manhattan and get there, or I forget, it's TQ or whatever they wanted to call it at the time, but in Habbaniyah, and we needed to get all this ammo there because that's our ammo. So we're bringing our ammo, and so we're driving the big truck. But this is the first time I've ever been in a situation like this, right? And so I'm a saw gunner, and I'm hanging out, and I'm looking out sideways. The truck's traveling this way, and I'm looking sideways out the window so I can shoot out the right side of the vehicle, and hope that main gunners other places are looking left on the left side of the road. So I just pick on that's my sector, and we're going. And in some places it's like nothing, just empty desert land. Some places had like tanks blown up, and it seemed like cars were blown up, and just devastation in some areas. And in some areas it was like nothing. Then you see these little huts. I mean, I saw this one girl out in nowhere land in the desert as we're driving to get to where we're going. This is south of Fallujah, north of Al-Ramadi, west or east of Baghdad. This is west of Baghdad. And we're driving there, and I see this little girl out in the middle of nowhere in this hut, and I start crying. Because I see her, she was so cute. She had this long hair, covered her whole, she was naked. This little naked girl, like maybe 5 or 4 or something, 3, I don't know, with long hair that was really long as her body was, her little naked body, right? And I remember thinking first at how cute she was, and then I thought how sad it was that she was out here, this naked little girl out in the middle of nowhere. And I go, what is this little girl's future? What does she have to look forward to? And I just was, sad. So a couple tears came down, but I remember they dried up real quick because it was hot and the wind was blowing from the vehicle and the convoy as we're driving. So anyways, and I had my saw. I took some 550 cord because they would give us a 200 round drum for the saw. That's our ammunition barrel. It was made out of plastic and would break, right? So I didn't want to have to deal with that. So I rigged up a system where I took some 550 cord, which is some strong cordage, and I tie this loop in my door, and our window's down, and I hang my saw on this loop, and it's kind of swinging and pivoting in the middle of the window, right? So I can and it's holding the weight, and so I can kind of maneuver, and it's a little more comfortable. It's nice. It's sticking halfway out the vehicle, but that's okay. And there wasn't a lot of room to deal with. Plus, you got all your gear on, right? So it was just, it was nice to have that. So we go driving in the city, and when you drive in the city, out when it's nowhere land, it's kind of nice. It's you're afraid of attack, but you don't really. Nothing happened. So to me, it was peaceful. It was a peaceful drive, really. Other than crying for that little girl, it was wasn't a big deal. But when you started entering cities, and I don't know what city it was, but it was don't stop for nothing. And I don't remember where we were in the convoy, but we were driving like madmen through this city. And this big 5-ton's a big truck, and it's kind of heavy, with all this weight and ammunition, and we're driving and taking turns crazy, and just, so now it's really exciting as you're driving through the city. We're like, woo, this is exciting. And the road comes to like a fork in the road, and from one other side of the fork or whatever here's coming a bus. We're driving at the same direction, and we all need to stop and turn at the same place, and nobody's like slowing down. We're going, at least 30 miles an hour or so, maybe, and with a lot of weight, big bus, big truck, and we're driving, and and the vehicles come. They're almost going to crash, and the drivers immediately turn away. And I remember whoever was driving, he's like, hold on. And I'm like, already holding on. Like, I know we're about to, hit this vehicle. I'm holding on already. And as we're getting closer and closer, I'm thinking about my saw. And I'm like, I need to bring this saw in because we're about to collide. We're about to crash into this bus. And as we're getting closer, I'm seeing it's a bus full of women. They all have full on, their whole, their custom is to cover the women completely. So you see a lot of that, completely covered face and everything. And children. So it was a bus full of women and kids that we're about to smash into. And I'm pulling in my rifle, but I just don't have enough room. I can't really pull it in because it's stuck on the 550 cord. So I got my rifle hanging out the window, and here it comes right next to this bus. And we're driving, and everybody's driving, and we go right beside each other. And my rifle goes in the window of one of the passenger windows, and I see this lady. And she's screaming, and you see everybody's screaming, and I'm like, oh, and we're turning the vehicle, and it's just like, whoa, it's a miracle we didn't crash, right? And my rifle went right in that lady's window, and she pushed it out of her face. And I thought to myself, she's gonna take my rifle right now, and I'm just like kind of like having this like, and then in an instant we pull away, and everything's fine, and we drop it, and we hit a curb. And a bunch of ammunition flops out of the back of the vehicle, and it's scattered. And I'm looking back there, and I'm seeing it scatter all brass everywhere, and people running over there, going to get the brass. It's like money to them, I guess. It seemed like they're like, oh, we're gonna get this brass and ammunition, and so then we get there, and to the location that we're supposed to be, and we're supposed to do I don't know if we were clearing the house the second day or whatever. So I'll get to clearing the house with the commo guy later, right? But we get this location to where we're ready to sleep. We're trying to sleep, right? Not really sleeping because you're apparently, we didn't have much of a perimeter. There were stories where people come running into camps with suicide bombers, just running into your camp, blowing people up. So we're like, we're super paranoid, right?
Justifiably so, it sounds like.
Yeah. And then we, then there's gunfire over here. In one area, there was gunfire, like at the front gate, I think, and you could see the tracers firing back and forth. Gunfire, and it was relatively close. I mean, close enough to where if I could see the dude who was shooting, I could kill him, but I didn't know who was what. And some of it was confusing. I didn't know if that was on our side or if it was the enemy, because it was close enough to say I don't know who that is. But it's not my sector anyways, and so you're just watching it. And so you're also staring through, your other sector. You have to look at the area where you're supposed to look, and you're looking into these bamboo trees and look like eucalyptus trees and palm trees and some bamboo, and you're kind of near the Euphrates River area. So there was lush areas, and then there was dirt too, both in the same area. And where are we going with this?
First day in Iraq.
And we were
people shooting.
And then we get mortared.
We get mortared.
And we're sitting there, and it's nighttime, and it's hot, and you're trying to relax, so you might be in your underwear. You might just kind of got your boots off, and you're just you got mosquito nets up probably because there's bugs, and you're just trying to take it easy. There was just a gunfire the other, couple hours ago or something, and you're kind of on edge. And when we roll in, it was this like city. This camp is it's like a old city that Saddam used to own, but is abandoned and beat up and just trashed out. It was weird, very strange place to be. And with weird graffiti and writing on the wall of soldiers, and it was like little kids drew it. And I'm like, why would you? It was just weird. So, where are we going with this? Where are we going?
In Iraq.
And then we get mortared, right? So there's incoming rounds coming in, and everybody gets up and runs outside. But we're wearing flip-flops, and we're in our underwear, and some people got a Kevlar on, some people don't. Some people got, only their body armor and like some, either shower shoes, they threw their boots on real quick, and they're just wearing their underwear. A lot of guys like that, running out. What do we do? And it's like, I don't know. And we're looking around. It's like, man, because some places it impacted close enough to where it was like, man, it's big, boom, boom, we're like, oh. And we're sitting around. It's like, well, what do we do? And it's like, man, we're about to do some out. We're about to. We were camped out right next to the mortar guys, by chance, but we weren't thinking about that. So we were gonna have outgoing fire too. So we're all sitting there in our underwear, looking around, like waiting for some assault, right? We got mortared. Now we're waiting for some dude to come running across the lines. We got to start mowing down these dudes. I don't know, thinking like it's like the Vietnam, something, crazy. You're just waiting. You can't see much at night. You got your nods, but you can't see much. That's your night vision stuff. So, and we're sitting there, and all of a sudden, boom, boom, and other big ones, and they were bigger than the ones before. It's like, oh man, they're getting close, man. Woo, they are getting close. They are on top of us, man. They must have been hitting right here, right around us somewhere. But it was the outgoing rounds that were going out. So that was just, you're like, oh, you weren't expecting it. Like we weren't, I hadn't hung out with mortar guys while they were firing off mortars. That was my first time encountering them, right? So that was our first day. But the convoy that came after us, that's a little hero story for Rainey, because they did get ambushed. And they got shot at, and Rainey, I guess the story was when they came in, Rainey jumped out with his 240. He's a 240 gunner, and that's a heavy rifle. That's a heavy gun and weapon to be lugging around. And he, I guess the convoy stopped, and he jumped out, and he ran and rushed the enemy, shooting and running and charging him. And now this is the guy that kept to himself. Well, he froze up in the landmine story. He was a real kind guy. I wasn't very clean, so he'd buy me a trash can and tell me to clean stuff up, Simmental. He was a good guy, and he was a brave. And when it came down to whether, when you get attacked, what's your buddy going to do next to you? Well, he handled it. So that's a good one. Other people didn't do it sometimes. It froze up. There's other stories like that. So is that the story? Is that it?
That's it, unless you want to tell more about what Rainey did.
He's just a hero, man.